Well, it's our last night staying in the RV. We've spent the last 8 months on the road, living in it full time, traveling across the country, but we've decided to move into a condo on the lake. And so today we're prepping the RV for storage and packing our things to get ready for the move.
First stop is Ace Hardware because we need to get some boxes to put all our stuff in. Yeah, this looks good. Maybe 4 of these.
Calm. Relax. Here, look. No, look. Look. Look, look. There. She's so goofy. No, Nuggie, be nice. No, here. Here, you gotta work for it.
Yeah, so we're still trying to figure out what to take. We want to keep the RV in a ready state, so when we do want to use it, we don't have to think about putting all the stuff back in here. And yeah, the condo we're staying in, it's just an Airbnb. We're going to be there for over a month. The condo has supplies and has things, so I think we're mostly just going to be doing like the food and the pantry and kind of like the basic stuff like clothing, the stuff that we use every day.
We're in the midst of packing, and so far we have pretty much cleared out the pantry items. Right here is actually a box for donations. These are just clothes that I haven't worn honestly in the past year, I think. And then behind me I have 2 boxes of the clothes that I am keeping and taking to the condo. So there's one and there's one in the back. And we still have the fridge to do, but we'll do that as it gets closer to moving in. So I got a job, and that's honestly one of the main reasons why we're making this transition. It's all good news, but it definitely is something that we didn't plan on. If we look back to January of this year, we thought we'd be in the RV full-time living for up to 3 years, minimum of 1 year. But what happened is a friend and a former colleague of mine, former colleague at the time, referred me to a job that he was working at. I had no idea that this was happening. And so it was a really nice surprise when he said, hey, you know, they would like to chat with you. And one thing led to another, and I actually ended up interviewing back in August. Everything went well, and I accepted the role. The job was just too good to pass up on. And so here we are, making kind of that change for our lives. Again, it's a really exciting time. It's all good things. And when I think about the journey that we had in the RV, both physically and mentally, I think we've learned everything that we needed to learn. There were so many things that I feel like I was taught throughout this journey, being a little more go with the flow with life, letting go of plans, letting go of expectations, being a bit more spontaneous and going on adventures. In our first and only Q&A, we talked about wanting to have this more dynamic lifestyle where we have like a home base, we have the opportunity to travel, we have the RV, we have other modes of transportation to explore the world and explore nature. And honestly, it just happened to come a lot sooner than we expected. Again, we thought this would last for 3 years, at least 2 maybe, and turns out that it was 8 months, and then things kind of changed. Fast forward to today, and we've realized that we need a little bit more space for us to work in this manner, and because we're not pulling from savings and we have a little bit more income, we can actually expand our living situation and make sure that we're both comfortable as we're working and having a home base for us to travel from. Wow, yeah, so it's really happening. I mean, we're actually moving out and trying to pack up things. We're starting with food, and it's really hard to determine like what we want to take and what we don't want to take. But for sure, we don't want to take these. I have a little mold growing on them, so I'm gonna throw those away. That's one thing that we're really gonna like about moving into the condo, is that we won't have to worry about the elements and the weather as much, as far as like the conditions and causing things to mold faster than they should.
So you may be wondering what's going to happen to the RV, and we're going to store it for a little while. We do have plans to use it next year. It's not just going to be sitting collecting dust. We do want to keep it in this ready state so that whenever we do want to do something, we can just go in, bring our stuff and go. The RV is just another tool for us to travel with. When we were looking at different models and when we chose this specific vehicle, we did it so that we can travel with our cats, and that's what we're going to continue to do. However, we are thinking of getting a van down the line, so that one will be without cats. And so we're just gonna have different ways to travel because we still wanna go on cruises, we wanna take flights, we wanna go to different countries and different continents. So we wanna do all of that. It's just we're not gonna be in the RV all the time, and instead we're gonna have a home base to where we launch from, and sometimes it's gonna be in the RV, sometimes it's not.
So what this all boils down to is what we thought we would do in a couple of years from now. We're actually starting now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be focusing more on YouTube. We have a lot more different kinds of videos planned, more than just travel videos. So I'm really gonna be taking this time and kind of, while she's working, I'm working on YouTube. And we also have trips planned for next year, like I mentioned before. Those will be more revealed as we go on. And honestly, we've been traveling. We've been traveling the country in a way where we've been touring it all along. We wanted to find another place to live, and so while we were traveling, we would see different places and not really experience them as much. And so now that we realize, we did all this travel, we realized we want to live in Texas. So what we're gonna do is now the next time we go back to like Zion National Park or something similar, we're actually gonna go there for specific reasons, like to actually do the Narrows, put on the bodysuits, get the right boots, and not just go hiking. So that's kind of what is our future travel plans and future channel plans. It's gonna be a lot more really cool experiences because now we have the income to support it.
Yeah. And with that being said, what we want to do is kind of talk about what full-time living has been like in an RV and what the past 8 months has felt like. So we decided to just share a little bit of our pros and cons.
I think the biggest pro of having an RV is that we have our own home or our own apartment anywhere in the country. We can go to any city, any place, and have these kinds of accommodations. We feel like we're living in a modern style apartment. We have everything that we need. We never have to question what's the cleanliness like, what's the bed situation like. In a way, we lean towards luxury, as long as it's priced right. And so that's what we get with this RV. We've been to places where there's no infrastructure for anything like that, and your choices are very limited. And so that's the biggest con, is literally we stayed at my friend's driveway for a month and we were in our own space.
Yeah. And for me, it's really about what the RV has done for me is kind of breaking down the barrier of what a typical living situation should look like, what a typical house or home can be. And honestly, it's really allowed me to free my mind a little bit and just think outside the box of what it means to live and to travel, and that you can have both in one, right? Like you can travel and be in your home at the same time. And so it's really been less of a physical journey for me and definitely more of a mental journey when it comes to full-time RV living. And then as far as like the cons and things that we really don't like, we just wanted to choose one each. And so I'll kind of kick it off. It's really about the elements, and what I mean by that is the wind, the rain, the humidity. I think humidity is a huge one. In the RV, you really feel things as they are outside, as opposed to like an apartment or a house. So I really have not enjoyed that part of RV living. Along with the elements, when humidity comes in here, things like produce and bread, it definitely molds a bit faster than if you were in a house. So that has to be probably the biggest con for me when it comes to working. Like when I look through the lens of having a full-time job, it would have to be space and like separation of space. That's something that we don't have at this time, is a lot of space for us to spread out and for him to focus on YouTube and for me to focus on my full-time job. So that's the thing that kind of bothers me most about RV living.
Yeah, and then the biggest con for me is the fact that we have pets, and specifically cats. You can't really take them along on hikes with you, and so you have to leave them in the RV. And at the end of the day, no matter how much battery power we have, generators, AC, heaters. At the end of the day, it's still just this box. And if something happens, if something goes wrong, you know, they will die in here if we don't check up on them. And so that's been the biggest con for me, is that it's just hard to leave them somewhere. Before Colorado, when we didn't have the car with us, we were staying somewhere in deserts on BLM land. Hey! But then when we started traveling Colorado, we were staying at a campground or campsite or an RV specific place where there were others, just for safety reasons, because we would leave for hours away from the RV and I couldn't just leave them in the forest or in some BLM land. So it's definitely changed the way we travel, and of course we can't give them up. You know, we love our cats, you know, we spend as much time as we can with them as possible. But that is definitely a con, is that if we didn't have them, I'd be a lot less anxious when we travel with them.
Yeah, so all of that to say, you know, there's nothing wrong with RV living. There are high points, there's low points, and for us, what we've decided is that our lives have evolved and changed a little bit, and so we have to do the same with our living situation. So while this is the end of full-time RV living, it's not the end of travel, it's not the end of experiences, it's not the end of enjoying life. So thank you for following along on our journey.
Another thing we got to do before we can move in is empty our gray and black tanks. We've actually been using this thing. It's like a portable tank. So what you do is you connect it to the outlet, and then this goes in here. And once you're done with that, you wheel this over to the dump station, which I'm gonna do right now. Yeah, this thing is super heavy, so I'm glad that there's wheels. Paid a little extra to get the good model. And but yeah, it's the exact size as our gray water tank, so we can just dump all of that in here and take it to the dump station. So I've attached everything. There's this little connection that you make, so it goes down into the drain, and you just pull it. Oh, but I gotta open this. There. Yeah, this thing is super convenient because I've already done this 5 times at least, and I can't imagine if we would have had to move the RV every time and re-level, it just would have been chaos. This is what we're taking with us. We got a couple of our carry-on suitcases and a couple of boxes with our containers and stuff. Jayla's bringing our clothes in here, and then my clothes are right in this box. We're actually moving tomorrow, so that's when we're gonna take all the toiletries and all the groceries with us. But that's pretty much it. It's honestly not that much. Makes it very easy to travel. There's enough snow to make a snowball. It's happening. It's almost time for us to check into the condo, and yesterday we finished prepping the RV. The condo is actually very close to us. It's only a 7-minute drive, and we haven't seen it yet. I've been holding myself back. I've really wanted to go and kind of check out the area, but I said no, I'm gonna wait till the day we move in, so I'm gonna go see it for the first time. Wow, this is so cool. It's literally an island, but I guess the bridge, it makes it a peninsula, but wow, I can't believe we rented something like this.